Now that we've been introduced to quadratic surfaces, we're going to do an example of plotting or sketching an ellipsoid. What we have is some equation here that as a sum of squares and then equal to a number. So we know that we're dealing with an ellipsoid because each of the x, y, and z terms are positive when they're all on the same side. Each of the exponents are, so they're power 2. And we know that this number is also positive on this side. If this number was negative, this would be an incorrectly formulated equation. So knowing that, we need to transform it into the standard ellipsoid equation. So to do that, we're going to perform a little bit of algebra and get it in the right form. So remember that an ellipsoid requires this number to be 1. So let's divide both sides by 400. So 25 for 400 x squared plus 16 over 400 y squared plus 16 over 400 z squared equals 1. And 25 over 400 is just 16. So, or 1/16. 16 divided by 400 is 1/25. And again, 1/25. So that's pretty close to looking like our standard equation, but remember, the equation requires that what's on bottom to be squared as well. So knowing that, we're going to sketch these cross sections on the XY, XZ, and YZ planes, and we're going to see if we can't synthesize those plane sketches into something that we can see in a 3D graph. So in the XY plane, let's take the case right now that z equals 0. Because we could be doing it in like a shifted XY plane for z values, but let's not worry about that right now. Let's just set z equal to 0. So in the case where z is 0, we have these two values equal 1. And we have the semi-major axis is going to be 2 times that, so it'll be 10. The length of that is 10. And the semi-minor length of that is 8. So that tells me for this particular value, if you remember how to construct ellipses, that y will go from -5 to +5. And x will go from -4 to +4. And I'm admittedly really bad at drawing ellipses, so my apologies here. So that's the idea. In the XY plane, we're going to have something so for the z value, we're going to have something that looks like an ellipse. So I know that here, so if I were to go 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's extend that out. I didn't draw my hash mark super great, but we have something that kind of looks like an ellipse. This doesn't really look like an ellipse, but we would have something that looks like an ellipse. So in the XZ plane, so that's the case where we're going to deal with y being 0. So that's these axes. We're also going to have an ellipse. And notice that that ellipse is going to look pretty much exactly like this one. So in that particular case, well, my spacing's bad because I should be using, let's use the same spacing we use for x here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to have, let's just draw that in red, try to differentiate. So now we have something that's an ellipse in this direction, and we have something that's an ellipse in that direction. So let's try to do the YZ plane. Now in YZ, what you actually notice is that these values are the same. So you could write that as, and that's the equation of a circle. So in the YZ plane, and that's not a perfect circle, but that's the idea. In the YZ plane, you're actually going to have a perfect circle. So, and this is, again, this is a terrible graph. Whiteboards are not great for this, but in general, what you're going to find is you're going to have a circle, and then you're going to have an ellipse, and an ellipse. So you're going to have some sort of egg shape. So it's going to be egg-shaped, egg-shaped, and then some sort of circle in the front. And so these are notoriously difficult. Practice is going to make perfect here. Definitely use lined paper or some sort of graphing paper or some sort of ruler or something that gets you even spacing, because this is still pretty horrible. Like I can't deny. And use graphing systems, things like GeoGebra. So it's like GeoGebra has a graphing utility that allows you to visualize this. But definitely practice on your own and then check against that to see if you can come up with the same style, even if it's hideous.